everyone, welcome to stampwithjenny.com. Today we're going to be making this heart treat cup card, but it has a sliding door so that way you don't have to rip your card apart to get your candy out. So let's get started. I'm using a card base. It's a Real Red card base, and it's cut at 5.5 by 4.25 inches, and it's scored at 2 3/4. And cut and folded in half. The layer we're using is Pretty in Pink. It's 4 inches by 2.5 inches. And your trapdoor piece of cardstock is 1 7/8 inches by 2.5 inches. So the first thing I want to do is using my Sweetheart stamp set. This is a clear mount stamp set by Stampin' Up. They actually adhere to our acrylic blocks. I'm going to do another video to show you, give you more details on that. So I want to use, these are all of your images. I'm going to use the scallop heart stamp first. And I'm using the D acrylic block. You need to make sure you get all the air out of the back of the stamp so it sticks to the acrylic block really well. I usually like to push on it for about 10 seconds is a good timing. And with Real Red, I'm going to ink up the stamp and stamp to the right of that layer. Okay. Then with a full heart punch, going to flip it over and you'll be able to see exactly where you're punching. I want to punch out the center of that heart. You can set that aside and use that for something else. And then I want to go back to my Real Red base and line this up like I would be adhering it on there, but instead I'm going to take a pencil and lightly trace where I just punched. And come back in and punch out the heart on the card base. And that just makes it easy for lining up. Okay, back to this layer. I'm taking the I Heart stamp set, also in clear mount. So I'm going to be using the small heart that says love on it in Pretty in Pink ink, using the A acrylic block. Putting that right on the block. And I don't know if you can see this, but it's just gives you a tone on tone look. It's very cute. I'm making sure I'm turning my stamp, stamping off the edge. This gives a really nice random look. Okay. So then, we're using a lot of stamp sets today. I'm using the Love You from the Short and Sweet stamp set in Real Red and stamping on the lower left hand corner. And then I'm going to take some white taffeta ribbon and bring it through the punched out heart, wrap it around the layer and knot. You wouldn't be able to do this with a grosgrain or a wide ribbon because the taffeta is nice and thin and it leaves room for you to put your treat cup in there. So knot it, and I'm going to cut off the tails. Then take my treat cup. Now there is a sticky layer here on the back. We don't want to take this off. Now if you weren't putting the trapdoor in there, you would take this off and this is how you would adhere it to your card base. But we won't be doing that today. I do want to take some mini glue dots and just put them on the rim. And this will adhere them to the card. So I'm going to pop that in there. Make sure it's well secured. So that's easy enough. I'm going to flip it over and take my trapdoor. I want to make this little tab here to pull on. So to do that, I want to take a piece of scrap paper and use the Sweet Treats stamp from the Teeny Tiny Wishes. Personally, I like to stamp first on the cardstock, come back in with my tab punch, flip it over so I can see where I'm punching, and line it up that way. I'll fold this in half. See, when you do that, it's lined up really well. So I'll open it back up and put some adhesive and stick it on one of the short sides here. Okay. Now make sure the Sweet Treats is facing the front of the card, so I'm going to flip it over and just line it up so that way there's no open spaces on the treat cup. Make sure it's flush on this side where the tab is. Just set it there. I'm going to take some Stampin' dimensionals and cut them in half, just a few of them. I found that if you leave them whole, they're too wide to put on the side. And what this is going to do is create a guide for that door. So I did the sides. Now I want one for the back of it. You don't have to use a half one on the back, but this is going to stop it so that way the door doesn't keep sliding that way. And then two more on the end, just to keep it even on the card base. Make sure these are sticking down really well, and pull off the adhesive, the backing to those dimensionals. I'm going to set it on my card base. Now, it's more important to line up your layer than it is to line up the hearts perfectly. I mean, you want them close, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. So we've done that. I'm just going to put the door in there, and it might take you a second to find exactly where it goes at first. There it goes in. Then we can flip it over and put your candy in it. These fun size M&Ms are almost perfect because it fills up your treat cup really nicely, and it leaves you a few to eat later. Not very many, but a few. And slide that shut. And you are done. Isn't that cute? Okay, thanks for stopping by.